Lindsay's Recruitment Founders Club, is joining me on stage next. Greg Elton's day job is founder of Day2, an executive search consultancy. Welcome up to the stage for the second time today, Greg.
I thought I was last week.
No, sorry. Come on, we can do better than that. We need brownies. Right? Maybe we should do it. Maybe we should come around with the brownies and put the QR code back on.
Yes, please.
Should we do that?
Yes.
Is there a way we can do that? Can we get that QR code back on?
It was just flickering along.
I know, I don't know. I would get migraine from it as well. Hello, Greg.
Hello, I was totally unprepared for this. I thought
He-
I was on last.
He is winging it because he is one of the few guests that wasn't interested or I forgot to send questions to. So he has no idea what I'm about to ask him, which is fantastic. So give us a little intro as to what your Day2 company does and how you ended up here.
Good question to begin with. Should be an easy one, shouldn't it? So, Day2. So, I've been in recruitment now 17 and a half years. The Godfather hired me.
Sorry, John.
He was my first ever boss. I love that, The Godfather.
I know.
Do you know what I love it? Let's move on. I can see it really annoys him.
Yeah. Oh, I saw it.
But, you know,
Greg.
anything to get it on it. Yeah, I mean, I'm rent free now, Godfather. So I've been in recruitment 17 and a half years. About 5.5 years ago, launched Day2. It's really it's an exec search business, energy and infrastructure, big capital projects, 100 to 300k base salary roles, predominantly in the UK.
US after tomorrow.
US from tomorrow, and Pepsi on Monday. But yeah, so that's my business. Came off the back of leaving a business that I'd been with for just shy of 10 years, where I really, you know, being open with you, I just needed to sort of find myself again. I'd run a business for somebody else, was a bit battered and bruised, worked 80 to 90 hour weeks, and I'd just had my second child. I've got 3 now, and that was very much so. Day2 for me was find my feet again, deliver to clients. A lot of what Steve said about, you know, I'm probably a bit more extrovert than you, but that never want to let people down, that deliver what you say, that is very much me in every aspect of my life, anybody that knows me. So that's what Day2 is. And then we launched Recruitment Founders Club about a year ago. About 2 years ago, I ruptured my Achilles trying to find my youth again on a football pitch. My youngest was 7 weeks old, and I was sat on a sofa bed downstairs for 3 months in a boot, injecting myself with blood thinners, thinking, you know, my wife's having a really hard time with this. I'm a bit lonely. I've got my own business, it's just me. So I went searching for community. Didn't really find community. Found a load of people that wanted to give me capital and rip me off in exchange for that, but I didn't need capital and I didn't want ripping off, so I started looking for other groups I could join. Yeah, Jocks winds me up about being a dinosaur. We'll talk about that in a minute because I am one. But you know, there's a lot of people, different groups. I won't say the names, but a lot of people do know them, and I just thought I don't really want to be affiliated with that. And I realised what I really missed in life, and I don't miss managing children that can't go to work themselves.
Oh, you don't mean your own children? I'm just checking.
Yeah, I mean, I've got enough.
Yeah.
But I've really missed mentoring great people, where I am offering a 0.51% impact on their life, and they just go and become what they become. I've really missed that, and so RFC was born out of wanting to help people that are budding entrepreneurs, not rip them off, and start them on that journey.
Amazing, we've got a couple in the audience this evening, I think. Hello everybody. So you alluded to it in your introduction, thank you for that. By the way, what is Day2? Like, what does it mean?
So all of my clients are involved in clean energy transition or deliver programs of social impact. So for me, Day2 is about, it's a bit cheesy, but it's sort of, you know, the world's Day2, we're heating up the planet, we're delivering programs unsustainably, we're living in a way that can't go on. So every one of our clients, whether it's a big water company, whether it's an energy company, whether it's a new bit of tech that's going to decarbonise the planet, it's all about Day2.
Wow. Didn't know that. There you go. Glad I asked that. So we're going to talk about why you believe we should all be thinking about working a retained model rather than contingent.
Okay.
How many people in the room do retain now? I'm interested to know. Wow. And the rest, how many of you do contingent?
Tried retain, not got much buyback from it.
You got a chance to convert the whole room, haven't you?
Yeah. Possibly. Like, you've got a chance to convert about 70% of the room based on that hand
80-20, yeah.
count.
Okay, so for me, I don't know why you wouldn't pitch retained. If you're recruiting permanent roles, I don't know why you wouldn't pitch it.
Okay, so it's the people that aren't pitching it,
Yeah,
why do you think they're not?
that's a deep question. I've got a 15-minute slot, right?
I know.
But
I've no idea what the time is, by the way. It could be
I would
10 o'clock for all I know. I literally don't know.
So
20%.
I'll land a bit of context here. I'm recruiting 100 to 300k base roles, right? So a lot of people think, oh, retained search is for the most senior roles. Yeah, I think that's where it's born out of, yeah, and I do agree that is what the predominance of its usage is for. However, when I had a bigger business and I was responsible for leading the team, we were selling retainers on 40 to 80k level roles.
Yeah.
Right? If you've got a client that's got a recurring need for the same type of talent, I don't know why you're not pitching them retained. And if you work in a bigger business, I think I know the reason why that is.
Come on.
Which is fear. Right? It's fear, and that's nuanced on multiple levels, right? It's fear of failure, number one, and it's fear of having your ass slapped by your manager because you've lost out on a deal that you could have closed if you weren't contingent.
Possibly, yeah. So how do you break through the fear?
It's just mentality. My clients know they can only engage me if they retain me. I don't give them another option because that's your route to work with me. And that's not an arrogance, it's self-respect.
You value what you do.
And I've run a bigger business,
Yep.
right? Still an SME of near 30 people, right? I've run that, and we've sold retainers for 40, 50, 60k. We called it talent mapping, you know, where there's a retained fee up front with a
Yep.
scale of economy fee at the back end, right? You can do that,
Yep.
right? If a client's serious about working with you,
Yep.
they'll pay it.
Paying for your
Right?
time.
Every other supplier in their business has the same model.
Yeah.
Right? Very few don't. Recruitment seems to be one of them that undersells itself time and
I
time.
totally agree. You wouldn't go to a lawyer, you wouldn't go to your IFA and not expect to pay for their time.
No, you just don't.
Right from the start,
You-
it should have always been
you
retained
just
as
don't.
the
So,
default.
honestly, I'm sort of blissfully unaware of the work I might not win because I specify that I'm retained. You never really know.
What do you do then if you get the candidate that Lindsay's got, this unicorn, this amazing
I work
candidate?
them too.
That's contingent, I think.
That's a contingent
I
model.
work them too. And that's
Into a
that's-
retained model.
No, I just place my contingent fee, but that's what's made me consistently, you know, without blowing my horn, consistently a great biller. I win my work that butters my bread, retained. They're the roles I deliver,
Yeah.
right? And I've always worked in that way, right? But the 30 to 60k extra every quarter throughout my career that I've topped up by placing people, they're working the best candidates.
Contingent.
Yeah,
Right,
working
so
the best candidates.
that, I'm really pleased that we covered that because I think that's maybe where the fear
Yeah,
comes in.
but I work candidates, right? I work
Yeah.
the best
Yeah.
candidates in the
Yeah.
market, and that is a contingent transaction.
Yep.
Okay. I only work retained the other direction. So if
Yep.
a client wants me to represent them, it's retained. It's retained, and I
Yep.
think, you know, Scarlett's coming up in a minute. She works, no doubt, identically in that way,
Yeah.
right? That's.
The people that work in the retained just sit here and going like this.
Yeah,
Yep,
no,
yep.
no,
Like, why would you work any other way? It's crazy.
I look back at it, right, and I look at people that have worked in my teams. I look when I work, I come from a corporate background in S3. Retainers are often, so if you're a billing consultant, sat in a business at the minute, and you've got a role that you could pitch retained, but you're maybe behind budget for the month, for the quarter, and you know by pitch, or you think rather, right, by pitching retained, over exclusive contingent, you might lose that, right? You've got your boss breathing down your neck. You ain't going to do it. Right? You won't do it. So for me, that's back to my original point. I think it's fair.
Yeah.
I think it's fair. And it is just a mentality. Actually, I don't mean it in a cheesy way, and I don't mean it in all of the other cliche ways. It's the right thing for the client.
Yeah.
It's the right thing for the client.
Well, it is ultimately, isn't it?
I think just to add to this, we were retained about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, not everything is retained, just the majority.
Yeah.
But then there's the fear factor that you're going to lose vacancies. But on a contingent model, you place 1 in 4, 1 in 5.
Yeah.
On a retained model, you place 95%.
Yeah.
So you're not actually losing out by losing those vacancies,
Yeah.
because you're placing
Yeah.
what you're working and delivering.
Do you think this comes down to, if we really think about our industry and the low barrier to entry, therefore the lack of value that we place on the job we actually do, that's where the fear, it's not necessarily fear, it's we don't actually value our time.
Yeah, possibly. And
Because it's been a stack 'em high.
But, you know, I had a friend of mine invite me, he messaged me on LinkedIn, he runs quite a large recruitment business in Birmingham, I won't name him, and he messaged me saying, can I buy you lunch, because the owner of the company wants us to do more retained work, and I know that's what you do. So I went and met him, and I've known him 20 years, and he said, right, so talk me through it, and I said, mate, I'm really going to uninspire you here. Right? But I will have the tuna baguette with chips. Like, it's just, it's a mentality. And for me, you know, I now, you know, it's myself and 2 members of staff, small business. But I don't understand consultants that don't want to have a steady baseline in their perm billings, right? You won't scale and sell any recruitment business that doesn't have contracts, right? So why are you trying to have a sustainable perm business that doesn't have a retained solution within it? And retained, we've got to get away from this mahogany-clad boardroom in London, wanky search world, excuse my French, right? We've got to get away from that, because that's not, it's a method of payment, and it's a mechanism of engagement. That's what it is.
I totally agree. Vic, you wanted to say, sorry, I'm so sorry, Vic.
So yeah, it was just more so because I don't know if it's, obviously we work in similar industries, but for me, my salary bands typically are significantly lower, but I know you said 40k plus typically works for retain. Every client I've pitched retainer to, and I always include it with some of my contingency work from a spec-in point, because I'm dealing with customers I've known for years, they're very used to the high street model recruiter and the cheapest chips, and you fighting to the bottom, which I've always prided myself against doing. I can't convert them to retain because it's too expensive. So they'll happily pay a higher
Why is it more expensive?
I don't know, because my fees are quite high in comparison to the 10% high street recruiters I'm up against, because I value what I do. So they'll happily pay me 18-20% to recruit for them, but they don't want to do it retained. And I don't know how.
But they're not paying any more, they're just paying for your time at the start.
And I explain that, but I don't know, they won't do it. They'll only do contingency.
Okay. So firstly, if it's more expensive than your contingent model, that's the first thing to address.
Yeah.
Secondly, you can wrap your retainer fee on a guarantee with them. So when going back a few years ago, we had a business that did the high-end search, and then we launched a new division that did mid-management. Okay. All the retainer elements we put with a guarantee. So if we don't deliver a shortlist, we'll refund you the money.
You can even look at your rebate.
Right. You can do loads. You play loads of tunes on that bit, right? And I'll, you know, we obviously, you know each other. I'll help you out with that, right? But it's the upside to them is knowing that they've got your absolute dedicated engagement. If you need to put a refund clause in there, right? That's the absolute last string on the parachute will pull, but you can do it, right? And it does. And thirdly, sorry, if it's more expensive than your contingent rates, just inoculate that straight away.
Just marry
Right?
it up
Yeah.
to the
And if you've got a
contingent
client, which I know you do, that recruit the same roles over and over and over and over again, okay, then charge them a retainer up front. It can even be like it's just
Subscription model.
I'll just say it's a notional fee, right? This is a way of heightening your engagement from exclusive, because I mean, look, everybody in this room that's sold an exclusive role, that's worked in recruitment longer than 3 years, has had an exclusive role that another agency's filled, or an internal recruit's had. It means jack. Right? It means jack. It really does. It just makes you feel really nice. Yeah. Having a retainer is a mechanism of working with the client that forges a partnership. It's a commitment.
Because they pay
And
you to do
that figure up front, right? Third. I work that on my big searches, yeah. But I mean, Josh has just made a point. Right? If it's £2,000,
Yeah.
right? It's a mark of commitment, as Emma's just point.
And it's included in the fee, so you're not
Yeah.
charging them any more.
And you can, and if you fail to deliver, give it them back. Give it them back. And I actually think, going back to some of the other discussion points here, it's a point of differentiation as well. Like, it really is. Like, clients, it's everybody wants what they can't have, right? And if they can only have you by retaining you, there's a bit of mystery around that. And when I met the friend, who I won't name,
We want to know who it is now, don't we?
then he's got.
We won't let you leave the room.
I won't know.
Is
But
he-
he's got sort of 30 or 40 staff that he's aspiring to. His boss wants to do more contingent across that sort of team. I said to him, whilst they're going out there and they're selling contingent, exclusive contingent and retained, they ain't got a prayer. And he was coming to it thinking, oh well, what do we do? Just sell it for the niche roles? Well, who's deciding it's a niche role? How many of us have got clients where you mutually agree it's a really difficult role to fill? There's not that many, right? They just want a solution, right? So if your solution is, well, you can work with me at 25% retained, 20% contingent, or I'll go 18% exclusive, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
What are they going to do?
Yeah.
Because you're giving them the same product in many respects, So I just think demystify retained. It's not third. It's not for the stuffy senior level roles only, right? It's a mentality.
Yeah. Mike?
I just want to add to that. We did some research a few years ago, post-COVID, in clients as to why they didn't take retained. And it was interesting because they said they felt that the recruiter didn't convince them that it was in their interests. It was almost, well, this is good for me because I'm going to get paid, so why don't you buy it, almost. There was no effort at all to explain how the breakdown of the market is, 20% active, 40% passive but open, etc. And how you can only reach people if you dig deep, and you're not going to do that if you don't get paid. So all the contingents are going for the 20% active roles at any one point in time. Well, you're just going to get the same people from the same agencies. If you want to go deep, you've got to pay more. No one did that. Well, the ones that were successful did, but most of the agencies that failed just didn't do it. They didn't put the effort in.
Joe? Thank you, Mike.
I found a real switch in attitude with my candidates when I turned my desk into a retained model. I found that, and I think this is even more relevant now because I think candidates are so fatigued with such a transactional industry. And so the candidate journey and experience is really strained at the moment. And I think the gravitas that you have as a recruiter when you're headhunting and you talk about this, you're working with that client on the retain model, they see that they have more of an opportunity of getting in front of that client, and I think it just spots like you and it builds that trust. And I think as a recruiter it just elevates your services. And I
Well,
think
it reframes them, doesn't it? That's all we're doing here, right?
I wouldn't want to work with a recruiter that had a job on contingent.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I want to know
Yeah.
that.
Because who am I up against?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would, I think in the market I work, certainly as I said, I can only speak for people who know in here, Scarlett jobs, retainer and using that language is comfortable. But Vix, I would challenge you to use terminology like engagement fee.
Yeah, we use that word.
Yeah,
We say
just
engagement fee.
just sort
What
of
we do.
bring it down to something
More
that's
cushion.
yeah. And
Why-
tell them,
why
and
shouldn't
look,
it?
and tell them, right, you've got, whatever your turnaround is for CVs, you've got a period of time to turn it around. And if you don't deliver, you'll give it on back. I just think there's so many ways commercially and from a brand perspective that you can adopt a retained model that will frankly just shore up your commitment from the client and enhance the partnership you've got with them.
I love that word, partnership.
Massively.
So the show of hands of who haven't done retained, put them back up. Right, challenge. Right, leaving here today, I want you to feed back to Greg and tag on LinkedIn that you're going to go and try and sell. No, let's not say sell. Create a partnership with a client with your engagement fee, however you want to call it. Who's up for the challenge? Yeah?
Add me on LinkedIn.
Right,
Anyone,
accountability.
I'll help you. I'll do a team call with you.
tuna sandwich.
Like,
Oh my god, I want the chips.
tuna baguette chips. Yeah. But look, I genuinely mean that because it needs demystifying.
I was going to say, I think that's what we've reframed it, we've demystified it. Mike's point was really good
Yeah,
because I think,
absolutely.
who's the benefit to? The benefit's to the client. Jay, you've got a train to catch. 8 o'clock.
That's fine, I'll get the one.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
I'm just being like a good
yeah.
recruitment mum. That has been really valuable, and I didn't think we were going to just talk about retain the whole time, but actually it's been a really useful
Yeah.
action point for a lot of people here, including Shannon and I nodding away. And I think we will all feed back to you. So thank you so much for joining us up here. Has anybody got a final question for Greg before he goes? No? Okay. Thank you so much. And for co-hosting as well.